The president was referring to al-Qaeda's capability to attack the United States, which the intelligence community tells us today is not present in Afghanistan.
Today I'm calling on more companies, I should say, in the private sector to step up with vaccine requirements.
Does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home.
I hate every single one of you who refuses to wear a mask to protect others. I hope this virus finds you.
He was saying that he would go up there and perform naked in front, all the people. And I was like, damn, all these straight people in the world, all these millions of kids gonna watch this, and no straight rapper ain't gonna say, hey, nah, we don't want you on that TV.
We'll get to that in a few minutes. That is Boosie Badazz.
Boosie Badazz.
No, it's Boosie.
Is it pronounced Boosie?
My guy Charlemagne was calling him Boosie.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I
Badazz?
thought he said Boosie, but I don't know.
Charlemagne was calling him Boosie.
Okay, I'm sorry. I misheard then. I apologize. I'm not up on my rappers like you are, Tom. Do I have an echo on me?
It sounds like it.
Can you turn that off?
I don't think you do, though. I know you do. There's nothing.
I do. Wait, is it gone? I don't know. That's weird.
Oh. Well, don't call him.
Okay,
Boosie,
I messed up the rapper's name.
I think I know better than you.
I
It's
thought that's what
Boosie.
he said in the thing that you sent me, but maybe I am.
You don't think the natural thing for me to be to call him Boosie? It looks like Boosie. I listened to Charlemagne.
Okay.
CMT told me.
Sorry. G. CMG. CTG. Charlemagne the God.
All right.
Okay.
So, hold on. I gotta get Phil.
Okay. So I guess we'll get to that shortly, but I think we should open up today's show talking about what I think is one of the most important stories that's happening right now that we haven't really talked about because there's just been so much craziness happening. We've been distracted from it a bit. But Gavin Newsom may be in trouble in California. I don't know if you realize this, but there's a recall election happening in California. And California has wacky recall election rules. They have a lot of wacky stuff electorally in California because they are really into direct democracy. So that's why they have all these crazy laws, because they have 1 million ballot questions on every ballot. So crazy things can happen sometimes. And their recall laws are kind of weird. And Larry Elder actually kind of has a chance to potentially be the next governor of California.
So wait, how many Democrats are running? So
a lot. So there's 46 people,
and they're all in one pool. So it's just a plurality. Whoever gets a plurality wins this.
So you don't need to win with 50% plus one.
You get 11% and win.
Right. So, and he's polling in first place right now around 20%, about 10 points ahead of the next person. And that's a problem because it's polling roughly 50-50 that Gavin gets recalled. And he can't be a choice for the alternative people. So the ballot has 2 questions when you get it in California, and everybody gets mailed one. But the ballot has 2 questions. 1, do you think we should recall Gavin Newsom? And 2, who should replace him? And you can answer one or both. You don't have to, even if you say you don't want him recalled, you can still pick somebody. But the Gavin Newsom campaign hasn't been saying that because they don't even want to deal with that. They just want people to pick, no, you don't want him recalled. Right. So they're saying, say no on the first one and leave the second one blank. And there's a ton of Democrats in there, a ton of Republicans, Green Party people, independent. There's everything because it's not very hard to get on these recall ballots. You don't need that many signatures. And because, again, they have these wacky recall rules. So all it takes is and this is probably going to have lower turnout than a general California election, but because it's weird and not everyone knows about it, and it's on September 14th.
Sure, and I can't imagine that there's huge enthusiasm to go
for Gavin Newsom.
Right,
There's not like, gotta go save Gavin Newsom, because he's kind of unpopular even within his own party right now because of like the French Laundry stuff and everything else. He's not.
Yeah, he's an effete jerk.
And life isn't that good in California right now, where people are like really enthused. There's a lot of mad people, and you know, the Republicans, especially now that Larry Elder's in there, have kind of tasted blood in the water and are getting really excited. There was just a news story that people are saying that the stories about Larry Elder are driving huge digital engagement, whereas, I mean, like Gavin Newsom's spending a lot of money on digital ads, but not getting the same level of organic engagement that the Larry Elder stories are.
And you could see that, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a big name, obviously. He's been a radio personality forever. But, like, this is how Arnold Schwarzenegger got in, too, is on a recall ballot because with less than 50%, because that's how, like, their rules are. They're just kind of funky. And so, like, so right now, 538 has their poll tracker at 48.8% keep Gavin Newsom and 47.6% remove Gavin Newsom. That's not numbers that you really want to see if you're Gavin Newsom. That's like really too close for comfort. So, and then once you do that, the fact that Larry Elder is who's up is concerning. And that's why you're seeing all these news stories that are like, Larry Elder is a white supremacist. So the LA Times wrote about him, which is very silly because Larry Elder is black, but he's...
Right, no, not only that, but he's in trouble for using the N-word.
Yeah, and they've carted out some ex-fiance of his who says he threatened her with a gun or something. They're coming up with every crazy thing. They're pulling out every trick in the book because I think they're genuinely worried about this now at this point.
Oh, so do I. So do I. I think also that he's... I haven't seen it. I don't know if you've talked about it, but his money-raising capability. Mm-hmm. He's got a huge national audience. He always has. He's kind of, in a way, unimpeachable. And it's interesting. You hear these attacks that he's a white supremacist and that he used the N-word. And, like, you're going to find somebody, a black man from South Central L.A., who, like, the birthplace of West Coast rap, who hasn't used the N-word before, or doesn't. You're not allowed to do, like, it's like you're stepping outside of the woke rules if you're trying to hit him on that. And it is desperate. And also the fact that, like, he made money in several different odd ways in the private sector. Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah,
I don't care what he did in the private sector. That's wonderful. That means he didn't steal my money.
Mm-hmm. And not for nothing. So we didn't talk about this story yesterday, but that video leaked of Nancy Pelosi's fundraiser where she and all her buddies. Mm-hmm. And I know that Nancy Pelosi doesn't technically have anything to do with Gavin Newsom, but I think that stuff like that does not help Gavin Newsom because it's just... It reminds people of the French Laundry incident, first of all. But second of all, just the raw rage. So she had this big maskless fundraiser in Napa Valley. But the help, the servants who were serving her and her wealthy guests, all had masks on.
Yes, but it also should be said, Alice, but this was Whitensville.
Yeah, this was in Napa.
But everybody there was really white.
Yeah.
White. But this is who Nancy hangs out with when it matters. In other
right.
words.
And they've like now said they're going to send Kamala to help Gavin Newsom and all this stuff. So they're really worried that he's in trouble. And this is not good for Democrats if they lose another Democrat governor, especially one who's been such a face of like very hard lockdowns during the pandemic. I mean, Larry Elder's campaigning on getting rid of all the mandates and everything. He's going to try and do a Ron DeSantis, get rid of all the mask mandates, all the vaccine mandates. So they're like freaking out. This does damage to their agenda. And I don't know, you, I'm sure, follow this because you're very deep in the Connecticut politics, but they just lost a seat in the Connecticut Senate in a special election, too. It doesn't bode well for them. And I think in general, Joe Biden's sudden drop in approval rating probably doesn't help Gavin Newsom much either. Because in general, I mean, he's seen as being a part of this, especially since, you know, Kamala's from California. He's seen as being a part of this, you know, pandemic, pro-lockdown, Democrat establishment that Biden is also a part of and that is screwing up everything big time. So I think that this race is definitely one to watch. That's September 14th, but I'm going to keep an eye on the poll.
I love it.
News
You know, I sent Larry, as I call him.
He's been on the Burn Barrel. In fact.
He has indeed been on the Burn Barrel podcast. Sent him a note today. He responded to me.
Yeah.
Correct. I asked him to come on, and he said, "Hi, how you doing? I hope things are well." And he kicked me over to his person. He's got a person. I didn't used to have one. Who's Ying Ma. Ying Ma kicked me to somebody else, and they said he can't come on. So, which is a good sign. That means that they are...
He's busy.
He's busy in a good way. That means that they're, the only reason that he would ever come on for me in Connecticut now is to try to raise money, But, no, that's great. I love it.
But I think it's exciting news. I mean, that this is actually viable, because I was like looking into it and seeing
not only viable, but imagine how good it would be for California.
Oh my gosh!
And even if he won, I think he'd only have 2 years to serve at least initially. But imagine there were so many people in California who would hear things they've never heard before. Certainly not from a black man in California, and never heard before. Just the way he takes liberty to speak his mind, and it's shocking. I mean, he's done it. When he was with me, I was like, "Oh man, am I in trouble?" Because he says what he wants to say. He's bombastic. He's loud. He's raw, and he's great. I think that would be great for California. Place sucks.
Yes, they ruined a lot in a short amount of time and squandered sort of their natural gifts as a state of all the great stuff they have going for them, and of like the weather and the industries that they have there, the film industry.
That text I got, by the way, was from my teammate Todd Feinberg.
Yeah.
Just asking me how I felt today about I was preempted by the Red Sox game. Mm-hmm. So I had 3 hours instead of 4. And so he asked me how I felt about that.
So does he also miss part of his show because he's
generally
after you?
Right.
So, but he must miss even more of the show then.
Yeah. So the downside is that you miss an hour to talk to people, and there are people who can only listen for that hour. Mm-hmm. The upside is that 3 hours, after 4 hours, I feel like I've been pistol whipped for 45 minutes. After it. During it, I'm cool. After it, I'm just like, my brain is just dead. And after 3 hours, I certainly feel more alive. But that is it. But it's always exciting, just to throw to the Red Sox.
It's like you're famous.
I'll see you tomorrow. You're right next to Joe Castiglione and Rob Bradford with the Red Sox. I think they got their beat down. All right, so let's get ready. You know what else? I'm so excited about today's show because we're taking a left turn.
Are we?
We're going to start out where we usually start out. We're going to cycle through a couple of Doocy things here, just because it's the latest on Afghanistan and the latest on where this administration is now. All right, here we go. This is Peter Doocy asking Jake Sullivan a question. Remember, Biden said that Al-Qaeda is gone. Al-Qaeda is not in Afghanistan. That's what Biden said.
And then the Pentagon subsequently said, actually, yeah, they are in.
Well, that's what the Pentagon said. Now here's Jake Sullivan, the boy genius of the administration, explaining to Doocy what he meant.
Thank you, Jake. So Friday, the president said that we got rid of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. Sunday, the Secretary of State said there is Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. So are you presenting the president with the full picture, or is he just misapplying the intelligence when he makes these public statements?
The president was referring to al-Qaeda's capability to attack the United States, which the intelligence community tells us today is not present in Afghanistan.
That is a bit of a pretzel stretch right there. Just going once again.
When he said Al-Qaeda, he meant Al-Qaeda's ability to pull off it. Yeah.
Yes, he meant they're all over the place, but their ability to attack
has been greatly
So this is obviously what in Trump administration would have been called a lie. Mm-hmm. But this is just this administration here trying to twist what the oak tree said into make it into something that makes any kind of sense. So they're being non-transparent, is I believe what we call that, and is saying just ascribing a motive to it, which is not the motive or meaning to what Biden said. That's fine.
But doesn't it make you nervous that they're giving such bad excuses?
Yes.
Like, it's almost worse than if they just said, like, oh, he misspoke or something, like, that was more straightforward. This weird convoluted thing makes it seem like, I mean, it just looks like it's a cover-up. Like, he doesn't really know what's going on.
They're
is
giving
what it looks like, frankly.
They're giving no quarter anywhere, Alice. At all. They're not giving you an inch anywhere. Even to things that we were all eyewitness to. We all witnessed him say that. They're not admitting that. We all witnessed him say that about the fiasco disaster that is his withdrawal plan. They're not admitting that there is one of those. They're not admitting that there's anything wrong. In fact, they're patting themselves in the back.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic thing.
Today, it is not present in Afghanistan. What is present in Afghanistan right now to our forces at the airport is a serious threat from ISIS-K, which we're trying to deal with. And, of course, there's the possibility that al-Qaeda could reconstitute an external plotting capability.
Of course. I mean, we expected this. We expected, of course, al-Qaeda would reconstitute, possibly attack us in Special K to be at the airport. Of course we thought that. We always knew that, yes.
So, if al-Qaeda can at any time reconstitute their ability to plan an attack, then wouldn't that mean that when you say al-Qaeda's gone, you probably should mean that they're gone?
No, because they're gone until they reconstitute, and then they're not gone. But Biden's a stickler for details, Alice.
Afghanistan. That's why you've heard from the president repeatedly about the need for an over-the-horizon capability that will allow the United States, working with partners, to continue to suppress the terrorism threat in Afghanistan.
Not the one we had with the small footprint at Bagram Air Force Base. Not that over-the-horizon capability. We want a different one.
From al-Qaeda or ISIS-K or anyone else. Just as we work to suppress the terrorism threat from al-Qaeda and ISIS in Yemen, in Syria, in Somalia, in the Islamic Maghreb, in many other countries. And let me just finish by saying, the president has been clear that from his perspective, American counterterrorism capabilities have evolved to the point where we can suppress that terrorism threat without keeping thousands
I like how they write into this from his perspective.
So, but if we can prevent terrorism without having troops there, it seems like a pretty big coincidence that the second we pulled troops out, there was a terror threat.
Right, and even though troops are still there, and then more are there, and we're there too, ISIS-K is there, and it could attack us. So,
but doesn't that just show that the whole thing is completely made up? Because he's saying that we have the ability to root out terror threats without having a troop presence there? We have over the horizon. We have our capabilities have evolved. We can now keep track of terror threats without troops on the ground in Afghanistan. But it's just a pure coincidence and totally at random that days after we pulled the troops out, there was a huge terror threat.
It's a good point, Alice. If we have this over-the-horizon capability in Joint Base Xanadu, you figure that maybe we could have used it to knock out Special K before they became a character in our lives a few days ago. But no, that was not happening, or the new ISIS, or the new Taliban, and all the new parties.
Well, because of course, it's clear that the reason why this is happening and we're dealing with terror threats against Americans in Afghanistan now is because we pulled the troops out and allowed the Taliban to take over the country. Right? I mean, doesn't that seem like that would be the obvious conclusion to draw?
Yes, I would say there was a vacuum created.
Tens of thousands of troops on the ground in a country. We have proven that out in other countries.
Okay, whatever, kid. Whatever. Good luck with that. This is the audio of the day. This is Ducey getting himself in trouble. Listen to Psaki. Salty Psaki. PSALT.
She had to come back from her vacation.
Does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not.
It's an understandable mistake considering many of them are telling reporters they're stranded. You know,
yeah, and there's been plenty of headlines.
Right.
NBC News had a headline yesterday about Americans stranded in Kabul. Like,
they're absolutely not stranded. They're simply unable to leave or move and trapped, contingent upon being saved by Americans.
Yeah. In fact, it's irresponsible to say that they're stranded. I mean,
Right.
where
I can't get a flight out. I want to go, but I can't leave because Special K is now in the area, regardless of our over-the-horizon capabilities.
Where are all the brave firefighters in the media, by the way, complaining that the White House just called their headlines irresponsible and said it's dangerous for them to say that Americans are stranded in Kabul?
Journalists are being killed around the world, and especially in that area.
We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them.
You're not stranded if we are committed to getting you. That's right.
Why do we have to be committed to getting them if they're not stranded?
We're committed, Alice. So nobody's stranded.
Via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to get.
You know what? Isn't it great that the White House does not like that word, stranded? It's way too accurate. Stranded. Stranded is what they are, as a matter of fact. Or you could say they're captive. How about that?
Yeah.
They're certainly stranded.
Get them home if they want to return home.
There are no Americans stranded is the White House's official position on what's happening in Afghanistan right now.
I'm just calling you out for saying that we are stranding Americans in Afghanistan when we have been very clear that we are not leaving Americans who want to return home. We are going to bring them home. And I think that's important for the American public to hear and understand.
Well, until you're unstranded, I think you're stranded.
And did you hear the shirty tone? Every American that wants to get home, we are bringing home. Oh, here we go again with the ones that want to leave, we're taking home.
Did you say shirty tone? Mm-hmm. Is that a thing, shirty tone?
Shirty means like annoyed. Yeah.
I love that, Alice. That's very alluring of you to say that. Okay, so there you go. It just tells you all you need to know that they're very scared of that word. They don't like it. They don't like the messaging. They don't like she took it to task because she doesn't appreciate him using that kind of.
But what are they going to do? Because this narrative is going to run into reality at some point here. They can quote us these numbers of how many thousands of people they've gotten out without telling us how many are American citizens, and they can sit here and tell us nobody's stranded, and they can sit here and tell us that, you know, everybody who wants to leave can absolutely definitely leave. There's no problem, but the deadline's going to come. It's a week away now.
And stranded may turn into lost. Now, the administration will say it means unaccounted for, possibly voluntarily unaccounted for, but it's fair to say lost once they go lost.
But there's also, this is 2021. People have cell phones, and this is how we're getting a lot of this information right now, is people are texting out of the country to say, help us, we're stranded. And
You're not stranded.
They're talking to NGOs.
We're coming to get you. You're not stranded.
They're talking to news organizations. There was audio of a woman the other day who saw somebody get shot in front of her and went back home as she tried to get to the airport. These stories are coming out of Afghanistan right now. The deadline is 8 days away now, this October 31st deadline. The Taliban has said that it's going to be... Sorry, what did I say?
October.
Oh.
It's Boosie.
August 31 is the deadline. It's a week. It's 8 days away. And the Taliban has said that they're not going to do an extension. And
no, although remember, it was our arbitrary day.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, August 31st, I guess. All right, that's the day.
Cool.
And the White House said, all right, we need to move it. And they said, no.
Well, yeah. But they're saying there's going to be consequences if we try and push back the deadline, and Biden and Alia are not pushing back on that. And, I mean, are we really going to let the Taliban tell us that there's a deadline for when we can take Americans out of the country?
Yes. They are going to tell us, and we're going to leave, and we're going to leave him absolutely not stranded.
But there's going to still be text messages and stuff coming out of the country, and people saying, help, we're still stranded. They're still going to be happening.
Vaccine mandate, climate change, DeSantis killing people.
I just don't see how this ends well, because they're going to keep saying people aren't stranded, and that has a limited shelf life, that argument that nobody's stranded and everybody's going to get out. like, that argument might work for a little while, but then I guess we'll see how successful the operation was, because we'll hear from people if they're still stuck there. But so them, covering up and obfuscating and doing this little dance where they're like, nobody's stranded, everybody can leave. We're hearing isolated reports that a few people are running into problems getting to the airport, but like, that's generally not what's happening.
And the problem is for these folks is that if the administration is so many of these leaks, so much of this information is getting through Democratic shill news organizations, and they're not stifling.
We do have some new details this morning about apparent retaliation by the Taliban against Afghans who worked alongside U.S. forces and their families. I have obtained letters from the Taliban to the brother of an Afghan interpreter who worked with U.S. troops.
what's her name? Brianna Keeler has obtained.
And they accuse him of helping the Americans and providing security to his brother. A final letter, the third of 3 that he received, notifies him of his guilt and a death sentence. It says this: these court decisions are final, and you will not have the right to object. You chose this path for yourself, and your death is imminent, God willing. These letters, of course, contradict assurances made by a Taliban spokesman at a news conference last week that they would not be retaliating against Afghans who helped America, as they are trying to project a more moderate image to the world. And these letters are just one example of how the Taliban are directly threatening Afghans who did work with the...
In the mail, you see somebody actually wrote you a letter and you feel giddy inside. It's like, nobody ever writes letters anymore. The jury has spoken. You're to be executed.
Yeah, no.
You've not been stranded by the Allies, but they're not around, and they've left you here.
Well, yeah, but that's why I say, like, this is 2021. I think the letters are the more unusual way that the word is getting out here, but there's also, like, social media and texting, and people are getting information out that they're stuck, that they're being attacked, that bad things are happening to them under the Taliban already. And this is while we have the opportunity to get people out. I mean, if I were the administration, I would be doing everything to get people out, because because after August 31st, it's kind of like all bets are off here. The Taliban's essentially said, like, we're relying right now, all the administration is doing at the moment is contingent upon the Taliban letting Americans go to the airport, which they're doing a little bit. And, like, so if the Taliban decides they're not doing that anymore, it's going to become harder to get Americans out then.
I would say so.
So if I were the administration, I would be trying to make sure that we get as many Americans out as possible. And I would also be telling the Taliban to F off. You don't tell us what to do, and we'll take as long as we want to get our people out of the country, or else. But I mean, I don't get why the administration seems to have no sense of urgency about this.
Well, they're projecting no sense of urgency.
We told them to leave a really long time ago,
They're
and if they
projecting no
want to
sense
leave,
of
we'll
urgency,
take
Alice,
them.
but they know that their goose is cooked. I mean, they know that they are.
Well, then why don't they try harder to get people out of the stupid country?
Because they don't want to create a situation. They want to act like this is an airlift, a historic airlift going with all hands on deck, and only America, uniquely suited to do this, can do it. We're doing the Civic Air thing where we use private plane. Mm-hmm. All sorts of things are happening. And so we're making what is a desperate situation to desperately ferry some people out before the gates close on us, making it seem like it's absolute routine, certainly absolute routine. And it's horrific. It just shows it's a total cowardice thing to do, especially since on the 31st, that could be it. Bang. And who even knows? Who knows? I mean, they thought that these guys are going to let us just leave with all the Americans and then all our Afghan buddies. I tend to doubt it. I think that there's these people are not stupid. They can tell we want to leave. We're desperate to leave. If the Americans wanted to stand up and put up a fight, I think they're saying, well, they would. But they're not. We've got their stuff. Somehow they know how to reenact Iwo Jima.
Well, yeah, because they're, like, online now.
Well, I understand, but
seen
that's still
stuff.
pretty good. I mean, most Gen Y people don't know.
And by good, you mean not good.
I'm joining, is what I'm saying else. Although you could say that cryptically, the flag in Suribachi was a Pyrrhic victory in that battle, which went on for months and got horrific for the Americans before it got better. Okay. All right. So listen, here's Joe Biden once again. This was a nightmare for me, of course. The FDA granted the Pfizer vaccine licensure, yada yada. It's official now. So Biden now officially comes down and says, "I want everybody mandate. I want vaccine mandates everywhere, all over the place. Vaccine mandates, 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 mandates." We knew this was going to happen.
Today I'm calling on more companies, I should say, in the private sector to step up with vaccine requirements that'll reach millions more people. If you're a business leader, a nonprofit leader, a state or local leader who has been waiting for full FDA approval to require vaccinations, I call on you now to do that. Require it. Do what I did last month. Require your employees to get vaccinated or face strict requirements.
Okay. So, just for the heck of it, I checked for the third week in a row, just to make sure, since the news broke that the teachers' unions had mandated vaccines. I just went over to make sure to check in case they actually had, because they really hadn't yet. And, of course, the national teachers' unions have not. So everybody in the world is doing this except for the AFT and the other one, the NEA, who will not make their teachers get vaccines. They will not do it. And we're acting as if this is across the board, everybody. No, they are still. This government is afraid to compel the teachers' unions to do a damn thing. A damn thing.
Well, some places are requiring it, though, even though
Localities,
the national teachers'
Alice.
unions. So, like Bill de Blasio.
No, hold on.
Okay.
Localities are. Yes, as you get closer into areas, they're here and there. And those are even splintered up into some areas yes, some areas no. And there's still going to be some problems there. But that is absolute. The SEIO, Trumpka, God rest his soul, said let's do it across the board. But the teachers' unions, they punted because they don't want to have to deal with this. They want localities to be able to craft out their own bargaining, etc. They want to give away this chip. They don't want the New York.
Oh, yeah, no.
So this is the Time magazine writes about this. Why national teachers unions support vaccine mandates but won't require them. And they write this as if it's not damning. This fall, as many schools across the country are planning to reopen for full in-person learning, parents and educators are bracing for the third straight school year to be disrupted by COVID-19. And yet, according to one survey by the Center for Reinventing Public Education, of the 100 biggest urban school districts in the nation, only 13 have some requirement that teachers be vaccinated. Just 7 of those, Chicago, Denver, D.C., Portland, Seattle, L.A., and as of Monday, New York City, have made the vaccine requirement universal for all school staff, which means that the vast majority of biggest school districts in the country are allowing at least some unvaccinated teachers into the classroom, even if they have other safety requirements like testing or masking. This should have been part of the discussion 6 months ago when teachers were asking for priority vaccines, says Robin Lake, Executive Director of Center for Reinventing Public Education. And that was at the beginning of the year. That was it. Weingarten was saying, teachers need to be first. Teachers need to be first. Yeah. And the government said, okay, you can have it first. And half the teachers said, no, thank you, we're not taking it. Now, this is even better. After a summer of equivocating, both of the biggest national teachers unions have come out in support of vaccine mandates. Kind of. The leaders of the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association have encouraged all teachers to get vaccinated. Both unions have launched major vaccination initiatives, and both boast that roughly 90% of their teachers have already received the vaccine. But both unions are advocating for a policy of either mandatory vaccinations or regular testing with language that leaves room for local unions to negotiate these requirements with their school districts, which means the national unions are caught between their public posture and the inconsistent wishes of their local chapters, resulting in a sort of doublespeak. Not a sort of doublespeak, a doublespeak. They say they're supporting vaccine mandates, but they're stopping short of demanding that every school district in America require each teacher to be vaccinated. Well, it's up to publications like Time magazine and the left to call them out then, to keep them straight. The question of whether to require teacher vaccinations ahead of the school year is becoming a matter of increasing urgency as the Delta variant rips through the nation. Early studies suggest that Delta is more contagious. But the patchwork nature of education policy means that regulations are often hammered out on a district-by-district or state-by-state basis, leaving some schools vulnerable to rules defined by the anti-vaccine sentiment entrenched in certain parts of the country, including inner cities. Still, the momentum may be shifting towards stricter vaccine mandates. Yet on Monday, the FDA granted full the same day in New York City. But it's just very interesting. Then the Time magazine goes on to say the unions are in a difficult position. Oh, imagine being in a difficult position. Somebody mandating you get a vaccine for something. Imagine that. The national union's hesitance to embrace vaccine mandates has hurt their reputation on a national scale and angered parents fearing for their children's safety. Yet they're reluctant to do anything that might hamper the local union's bargaining power. In other words, they're effing dirtbags. And they're feeling the pushback because of it, which is remarkable to me. And experts say that it's very rare for national unions to do anything that would tie the hands of the local chapters. You can't do that.
I mean, you would think they're, by the way, going to be fine with advocating for student vaccination mandates.
Of course. Yeah, no, absolutely. They already have. They're up students and for
they are
going to
available.
And right now, I guess it's 16 and up. You could right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
12
then,
and up.
No, right now this vaccine mandate covers 16 and up.
Oh, okay.
The FDA green light for Pfizer is for 16 and up.
Oh,
so 12 to 16 is still under the emergency, whatever.
12 to 15. Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
Right. So.
But what I did read is true is that once something's not under emergency use authorization, once it's actually FDA approved for any group, it becomes possible for doctors to prescribe it off-label to anyone. So, in theory, if you were a psychotic and you wanted to run out and get your child vaccinated as soon as possible and you were mad it wasn't approved yet, you could take your child to the pediatrician's office now and demand that your doctor give it to them off-label.
Oh, very nice.
So, just letting all you big vaccine advocates out there know that you can go vaccinate your kid now so you can stop yelling at me to put a mask on my kid.
All right. So, you ready for me to get real with you?
Yes, Tom.
Oh, my pan was off. I'm a little bit to the right. Sorry, guys. It's obviously one of your kids messing with my stuff.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Stop! All right. So, here we go. You ready to get real?
Let's get real, baby.
All right. Ooh. Alice.
What?
My goodness, are you drunk?
I'm allowed to talk to you in an affectionate way
That's
because
amorous,
we're married.
Alice. I understand, but this is you working blue.
That's not. I called you baby. Is that blue?
You've
That's
essentially put a pole in this room, essentially. And you're spinning around it looking for ones from me. All right, so here's the deal. This is the Breakfast Club show. Like we were talking about. Boosie Badazz, the rapper, is on there. Who's a rapper, I guess, is well known. And he's on with Charlamagne the God.
Not to us, but.
Right. He's on with Charlamagne the God and the second chair of the God and third chair of the God of this show. And they're talking to him about he came out and said some threatening things to Lil Nas X.
Lil Nas X, yeah.
Sorry, Lil Nas X.
Mm-hmm.
What an a-hole you are. Can you imagine? God.
It's a tough life.
I'm from Lexington. I can enunciate. I know the rappers. Did you ever go to a rap concert, Allison? What were your memories of it?
I'm not talking about it.
Tell me about it.
No.
Little Nas X.
Okay.
So this guy, Boosie Badazz, has a problem. It went after him. It doesn't like his act. Doesn't like it all. Little Nas X is flamboyant. He happens to be. I think he's a homosexual. I'm not sure though. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you really not know that? Are you being obtuse?
So, no, I'm being shirty with you. So anyway, this rapper, this guy, Boosie Badazz, has a problem with him. Doesn't like that stuff. And so Charlamagne the God and his crew ask him, because I think they like Lil Nas X, and I think they're all for it. So they put it to him. It's like, what's your problem with the guy? And I think that this is an interesting conversation. A conversation that other people could never have. Never have.
What about even saying like you would beat his ass? So, and I saw Lil Nas X responded to that. You think that's too far?
Nah, because I just be feeling like sometimes I gotta speak up because, you know, as far as straight people in the world, you don't have an opinion on homosexuality. Everything is harm. If you say anything, I'm straight, I like women, it's vulgar to.
It's volatile. He says, where he's coming from is right. This guy, Boosie Badazz, could be part of Daily Wire with what he's saying. He says it in a different way, but he's saying it.
Well, yeah, and you can tell he's trying not to get himself in trouble at the same time.
Right.
But he's essentially saying, like, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on homosexuality because I'm straight.
Right.
And,
exactly.
you know, and then I think he says something that's non-true, which is that I can't say I like women.
I know that's
that
vulgar,
ain't true.
but
Yes.
No, but
yes.
I just
You can't brag on.
I just
really
think
smashing
That ain't
on
true.
your sexuality
I don't
no
think
more. It's
anybody has
ran
that
by.
problem.
It's ran by.
Boosie
the
Rap has been talking about
LGBTQ
women forever in videos and they songs. That ain't changed.
But maybe he's right. I mean, maybe that's toned down. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know enough lyrics or anything anymore. But maybe it has changed, and everything else has changed. Obviously, you can't say the stuff that you used to be saying. You can't say the anti-gay stuff that rappers used to say. I don't think. But I'm sure that these. But like people like the people who have made it in rap, who are superstar Jay-Z and Beyonce, they're beautiful, ultra progressive coastal elites now. So, you know, they sound, just like any other coast, like Rachel Maddow.
Right.
Right.
So they're not obviously going to say any of that
Right,
stuff.
but they influence the vernacular. I mean, obviously they have an influence.
Right, and some of this stuff has changed over time, clearly. I mean, like, Eminem has been questioned on his use of some anti-gay words as recently as, like, 2018. And I don't know if you saw, but one of his kids recently came out as non-binary.
Yeah.
I know it's a different day now. You can't. Just like the baby. Like, bro, like, you know, like, how many times you been on set? All y'all DJs. And you heard somebody say
if you've been on stage here at a club or whatever, and the DJ shouts this, and everybody responds.
If you ain't got AIDS, make noise in the whole club.
Oh, no, you're right. That's true.
Yeah. So he's referencing there the Lollapalooza thing.
Yeah, but I don't think he means just that. I don't think what I'm thinking of saying is that that's not isolated. That's the thing that they say in the clubs.
Right. So, I mean, but just, I don't remember. I know we talked about that on this show, but I don't know if it was in a Patreon special or not. But the rapper DaBaby got in trouble and canceled from Lollapalooza because he said something along those lines, like everybody with no STDs who's not doing gay stuff.
Right, and what I'm getting from here is that it's not
it's
kind of a universal thing to say.
Well, I think homophobia has been pretty prominent in the hip-hop community historically.
Yes, I think so. I think so. I mean, there might be something else, like a liberation spiritual thing about some of this stuff. If you don't, like, you're good to go if you're not hampered by a medical issue. STDs, he said, right? So, like...
And on this one, he said AIDS, yeah.
Right.
So
that's true, but it's a different time.
No, it's a different time, and because he's one of the biggest.
He's talking about Lil Nas X being one of the biggies, right?
I thought he was talking about DaBaby being one of the biggies, because then he says they're trying to make an example of people.
Oh, maybe you're right.
You know, so they try to make examples out of people, you know, so the next person who blow like this, you gonna go with this. And I feel, they're attacking our children.
So that's interesting. So that gets to the core. He feels like that this stuff, this gratuitous gay sex act that Lil Nas X has, is bad for kids. Which now puts this rap star squarely in line with probably half of America.
Yeah.
And it's not really a judgment on homosexuality. I think it's a judgment on exposing kids to this graphic recreation of recreation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you make all the other, you make everybody support this. Who love these rappers?
The kids?
The kids.
Yeah, but you know,
You make every rapper go with it. If every rapper go with it,
I think he's right. You
Yeah,
make
if
every
you
rapper adopt this as absolutely okay, signing off on it, then you absolutely normalize it as condoned behavior.
Right. Well, and especially, I think, personally, that the whole Lil Nas X thing is especially because his brand of rap that he's done has been sort of almost like novelty songs. Kind of. Like the Old Town Road song, obviously, like, our kids love that song.
Right.
That's not, like, an especially adult-geared song overall, right? So then you have kids who are into that, and then they know, like, who Lil Nas X is, and now you know now his next song that comes out, he's literally half naked grinding on Satan in the video. I mean, like, there's a disconnect there, like, with who is the audience for this, obviously. But I also have a kind of theory of why of why there has been, like, this sort of homophobia in hip hop culture, and why there's this pushback against the Lil Nas X thing among certain people now, which is that I think that it has to do with, and there's been this critique made by people on the right as well, that that in a culture where you normalize like gayness towards everybody all the time, and you say, and then there becomes always the risk for men who are doing interactions with other men that their interactions will be perceived as gay at any time, and that leads to a breakdown in male camaraderie if there's, like, always this question of, you know, whether there's going to be a romantic inclination between you. So that's why you have the joke, like, the the Friends thing, like, the no homo stuff, right?
I don't know it.
Like, you know, there's a thing where they'll say, like, no homo, but blah, 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 like, your shirt looks good or something.
The Friends did? On Friends?
I think it was on Friends,
Really?
wasn't it? Anyway, but there's the thing where you say, like, no homo, but, you know, you look good today or whatever, right? So you're saying, like, I'm not gay, but blah, blah, blah. And so that's sort of, like, men trying to give themselves the space to, like, be close with other men without it being perceived as gay. And as you know, like, you've been friends with, like, Italians and stuff, and, like, I know people from Eastern Europe where, like, men are much more, like, touchy-feely with other men than they ever would be in the U.S. And I think a part of that is because being gay is less accepted in the culture, so there's never, like, the thought would never enter someone's mind that, like, that, you know, hugging your friends, I mean, Serbian men kiss each other on the cheek when they see each other, you know, like, the thought would never enter their mind that that was gay, because they're not, like, obviously they're not gay, like, they would never be gay. But when you now open up the possibility that, you know, anyone around you could be gay at any time, you're less likely to engage in that kind of, like, male camaraderie behavior. And so, like, the more normalized you make it, the bigger breakdown there is. And I think that sort of hip hop culture has been a place that really has been a space where, like, where there's a real, like, male camaraderie and bro culture in there, you know, and that when you introduce, you know, homosexuality as a major part of that, a major force in that culture, you break down some of the, like, the male camaraderie. And I think men need spaces, you know, where they're able to, like, be together and not, like, have this romantic thing.
Didn't he say that some of it right there is the fact that he's being protective of kids? And also, I think for a lot of these guys, a lot of rappers come out of tough neighborhoods. In tough neighborhoods, you can show no vulnerability. It's about strength, projecting strength, and also, I don't know the numbers, but I believe a lot of Black Americans are Christians. Go to church.
Yeah, I mean that too. But I think also there's that this has been a space that's been dominated by men, generally speaking to, and with an audience of other men. Now, obviously, there are like rappers who are women too, and that's a thing. But in general, it's been a pretty like male space, especially this world that they're talking about, right?
Just think there's like no lesbian rap scene. Is there?
I don't know that that's true. I don't know.
Is there? I mean, are there any
I don't
superstars?
know enough about it, but there's a pretty big lesbian scene amongst urban women. So I mean,
is there?
I don't know. I think so, yeah. But I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I think that the need for the American left to like essentially like colonize all cultural spaces with homosexuality is like kind of weird and dark. You know?
Say it again.
I think the need for the American left to colonize all spaces with homosexuality is weird and dark. Like, they just need it to be, like, everything has to be about gay stuff. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, okay, you're just over here doing rap. We need to make it about being gay. You all have to say you love being gay and wave gay flags, and you can't say anything bad about being gay because this is a gay thing now.
So I think there is something that American straight progressives use as a human shield to dare you to have a problem with it.
Right.
And I'll tell you one thing that I think that the many in the American left use gays for pure advantage. It signifies all sorts of wonderful things about them, and it allows them to show you how not only open-minded they are, but how almost cosmopolitan they are. And they'll pick out I found anyway, also these attributes that they think were wonderful, and they'll tell you, I love Jeff, he's so wonderful, he gets to be bitchy all the time, but he knows the best things to order in the best restaurants, and he's the funniest guy, he doesn't care, he doesn't want anything from me, I don't want anything from him. And there's this thing where, and I've only found progressives who to say blanket, I love gays. And people can love who they want. I'm fine, whatever. But whenever I hear somebody say that, when they say that as an accessory, like, oh yeah, no, totally, I love gays. Like, I don't love straights or gay. I don't like there's too many.
You actually don't like most people.
It's just too broad a brush. When I hear somebody say, especially women, white, of some affluence, women. Yep. Say, oh my God, I love gays. I think it's great. My message to gays would be, look out. Because when the culture changes a little bit and they need to not love gays, it is that reversible. They will happily be, when the best thing is to show the best thing is to accessorize in a different way, then they're happy to do it. They're happy to drop the last accessory and vilify if they must. It's always something I've just noticed about people.
Well, yeah, and there's just a trendiness to it, and a whole thing like that. I mean, and I think he's right that there's like a focus on kids that's kind of odd on like making gayness kid friendly. Like Nickelodeon has become like this bastion of gay pride stuff. Like they're singing about allosexual family dolphins or whatever, and it's odd, it's weird that there's like such a heavy focus on it. And I mean, I don't know, there's a woman that we've sort of met vaguely. I don't know if you've met her, but I've met her, but that used to live in the town that we used to live in, that had a kid who became trans at age like 4, and socially transitioned in school and all that stuff. So now I just happened to be on Facebook the other day, and now out of her 3 kids, another one is a boutique transgender. They're like agender or whatever thing. It's like they're like not trans, like they're the opposite sex. They're trans, like they just are they don't have a gender, or non-binary. That's what they are. They're an NB kid. So out of her 3 kids, 2 have do not identify with the gender that they were born at birth. And I think that that's like a little bit.
Well, I think that's just a matter of. And by the way, no judgment on any of these. Well, maybe I don't know, but I love gays. I love all of them.
I know, Tom.
Well,
but isn't it funny that you feel that you need to make that?
Yes,
that
no, I do,
disclaimer?
because already what we've said would seem, because you've said things that that somebody, all you have to do is say the word gay, and then veer from the accepted, supply of words that you're allowed to use when talking about this, and then you're homophobic. That's all it takes,
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, I think like gender relations are interesting, and I think
so do I. That's why I'm listening to
Yeah.
this, and I think this is interesting.
Mhm.
Let me jump back to this here. Here we go. Oh, sorry.
Who love these rappers?
The kids?
The kids.
Yeah, but
You make every rapper go with it. If every rapper go with it, you grab that generation. I know I loved every rapper when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
I loved every rapper. You know what I'm saying? I try to copy what they did. You know what I'm saying? And it's a new day now, and I just feel like, they pushing it on our younger generation.
Listen, I love rap, I love hip hop, I love our culture. But I saw you say that you feel like he is a negative influence. Why are we acting like rappers haven't been negative influences for years? Whether it's talking about murder, celebrating the drug culture, the gang culture, violence against women, like we just as negative. So how is he the person that you decide to point at and say, "Oh, you're ruining it for the kids"?
Now that is valid.
Fair point.
This
fair
is why
point.
this is a great conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, they have been saying you slap that B and, shooting people and all the worst things in the world. So how is this more egregious when you have this guy, involved in simulated sex? How is that different than their gangster? Because the other stuff was masculine?
I mean, I have a problem with a lot of stuff that happens in hip hop. Obviously, I wouldn't show a lot of it to my kids. I wouldn't show my kids WAP either. Right?
No, it's WAP, Alice.
Is
The
it
other
WAP?
one's a slur against the Italian community. But, well, you know what? Keep going.
I
That's
thought
fine.
they pronounced it that way, but whatever. Anyway, I wouldn't show them that video either.
So do you think one's worse than the other?
Not necessarily.
I would think the squeezing off bullets at somebody you got a problem with is worse. Although none of them are things that you want your kids to emulate, especially if they're young. Well, then again, but you know what, Alice?
I think giving Satan a lap dance is up there. I think Satan and the gay lap dance I'm not necessarily comfortable with.
All right.
What have street rappers done to the kids?
I really get offended when it was like he was saying that he would go up there and perform naked in front, all this.
Well, maybe when he says, what have street rappers done to the kids, and maybe the difference. And Boosie is just saying he doesn't like that he's going to perform naked in front of the kids. And that I get, because that's perversion with the little kids. But maybe Charlemagne's point here is... No, maybe Boosie's point is that the street rappers, they're all doing things that are survival techniques in the... I call it the hood. It means neighborhood.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what that is.
Well, I think that there's an element of that. That's always been one of the rebuttals when people criticize rap for glorifying violence or whatever, saying essentially that, people are telling the stories of the neighborhoods that they come from and the lives that they've led, and they're shining a light on something that might not be like positive per se, but they're like showing the real reality of what's going on in their lives and in their worlds, and they're the only people speaking to this reality that's on the ground. Like no other art is reflecting, their universe, right? And so, I mean, that's fair, but that's also probably true of Lil Nas X, that he's, you know, representing himself and his community in the world that he inhabits, and he's representing it artistically in his art.
Yeah, no, man. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Is one worse? Is whatever. But, you know, people also have the right to not like it, too.
All the people. And I was like, damn, you know, all these straight people in the world, all these millions of kids gonna watch this, and no straight rapper ain't gonna say, hey, nah, we don't want you on that TV. Nobody's not gonna, you know.
Yeah, I don't understand that logic, Boosie. I saw you say that people be trying to be straight. How you try to be straight?
Didn't it sound like he said Boosie?
He said, fine.
Sorry.
If you straight, you ain't got to try to be. I don't care.
Run it back again.
On the video, you said people trying to be straight. You said Lil Nas will dance in front of the men, and this, you know, these little boys trying to be straight. I'm like, how you try to be straight?
No, I'm just saying.
I don't know how straight turns into straight, but I may like it.
And as far as if you got your kids watching TV,
mm-hmm.
would you want, if you trying to straight raise strong young black men, would you be cool with your kids sitting there watching it?
Strong black men not gonna be.
Would you be cool with sitting there, if you trying to raise that, and would you be cool and sitting there watching Nas X go up there and take his clothes off?
What age we talking about?
You're part of the problem.
What age we talking about? Because I don't want my kids looking at anything sexual at a certain age.
Yeah, at a certain age.
But once they get to a certain age, nothing wrong with that.
Man, girl. I want my kids.
Because by the way,
all right, idiot number 2 chair. You can calm down. These guys handle it.
This is a national stage.
Man, Boosie, we grew up seeing worst images on TV, man. We seen dudes on TV holding guns. Like I said, you know, celebrating violence against women.
So there you go. That is a Boosie Badazz and Charlemagne the God. I think that was a great conversation, and I don't even know if they're going to be in trouble for having it. But
he's going to be in trouble, the guest. However we decide to say his name.
Well, maybe because apart from this, he's threatening to beat the crap out of somebody else. Harkening back to wholesome rap.
But I mean, I think that he raises a good point, because the issue isn't that Lil Nas X exists, right? It's that Lil Nas X is being promoted and you can't criticize it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people who've been on the rap scene a long time have taken their fair share of criticism for what they've put out there artistically, including from Tom Shattuck.
Ooh, that's a great point.
Criticized their work quite a bit, and you know, and the influence on people and whatever. I mean, like, they've gotten a lot of criticism over the years, right? Like, but can anybody criticize Lil Nas X when his pants rip open on SNL?
Did he do that?
Yeah, I mean, supposedly not on purpose, with the pants getting ripped because he was like pole dancing on SNL or whatever.
I don't need you sending me the link, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Speaking of which, Biden just had, this is not related at all, so I don't know why I said speaking of which, but Biden just had the WNBA champions.
I saw it. It was
the
disgusting.
White House.
It was ridiculous.
He just knelt with the jersey.
No, what was disgusting wasn't the basketball team, it was him, like, getting slowly down on one knee and trying to hold the jersey, and he's like blanking out was what he's doing. It was awful.
So, cringe about that. But anyway, we will. I feel like there's something else we were going to talk about that I don't remember now.
I don't think so.
Really? We got to everything? Well, anyway, if we remember, then fine. But you can find us on Twitter at BurnBarrelPod, Facebook.com/BurnBarrelPodcast. All the videos are back on YouTube now and on Rumble. We're Burn Barrel Podcast on there.
C'est la vie.